Hi, I'm Richard Q and welcome to Creative Cycle, the series where two artists on the same bill sit down before the event and ask 5 questions to each other about the journey that they came on to get to this point. One headliner, one rising talent, both coming at the craft from different angles. I'm outside number 90 in Hackney Wick, right by the canal. The night's just getting started and you can already feel the atmosphere building around the venue. For this episode, we're meeting Turkish-born DJ and producer ELIF, who's been shaping her own sound and running a label Marginalia, and London-based rising talent Innerstice, known for his melodic storytelling and deep connection with the crowd. They're both playing for AM later tonight. Before they step into the booth, we're taking a moment to hear how they think, create and navigate this beautiful scene we're all part of. Let's head inside.
Hi,
Hello, Elif. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you. Growing up in Turkey, how has that influenced your sound and where you are today?
I mean, when I grew up in Istanbul, we had some amazing parties. So not just electronic music, but you could go to concerts and like get really immersed in music. And then I also started clubbing a little bit. And I remember we had in the same night 3-4 big DJs playing in different clubs. So it was very rich when I got into electronic music. And I think I was very lucky about that. And in terms of sound, because I'm from there and very oriental sounds usually remind me of weddings or funerals, I really do not use them in my music because for me they don't belong in a club. So in a way it affected me that, you know, when it was kind of a trend to play a little bit of, you know, the Middle Eastern sounds, I really stayed away from that. But other than that, like the geography or its music, it's affected me in a like opposite way. But I was really lucky to be listening to all of these big artists live in my own city. Yeah.
Cool.
So you started as in a punk rock band and you were playing the bass. How does that affect your sounds?
So I think what I've kept from band music and punk rock specifically is the DIY spirit, the rawness, the emotion, letting go, being a bit crazy. I think I still have that in me today. And I think specifically playing the bass guitar, like for me, it's such an important thing in electronic music. Like a good bass line is really can, like if the bass line is not good, it can really like break a track for me, you know? And if it's really good, it's like, you know, it takes me to another level. So it's so important for me that the music that I play today and the music I'm involved in and I produce, the bass line is a key thing for me. Because for me, like in a track, the bass line is kind of like the soul of the track. It carries that, you know, that depth. So, yeah.
It makes the body move, no?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
The bass, yeah.
Exactly.
Can I ask an off question? Because I wonder if you play like bass in your own productions or you do it with...
I have done a few times, but I think I'm still fully finding my sound with the bass guitar in the tracks that I make. I think most of the time when I've made something a bit more, like let's say organic kind of house, you know, a bit more chill with more live instruments, I feel really comfortable using the bass guitar. But when I've done something a bit darker, a bit deeper, I kind of found the bass guitar was a bit too electric, a bit too live. And it feels more comfortable when I use like a synth most of the time. So I think I'm still getting there, you know, maybe I need to, I don't know, do more processing to the bass guitar or something.
Maybe you'll find your own way to implement it to the club music.
Exactly.
Because I can hear like a organic, let's say, or analog bass guitar in maybe indie dance music, but maybe not in techno. So maybe you find your own way to implement that. That will be really exciting.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask you, do you remember the moment or the period in your life when you realized that music wasn't just a passion, but something you wanted to pursue like full time?
I mean, when I was always really into music, but I never saw myself as an artist. I started like writing about music and I was supporting a lot of talented musicians because I was writing about music. And at some point, I really felt more and more like drawn into it. And I think I was like 30 years old, going through a bit of a change. And I was like kind of done with like expressing myself with writing. And I think I've saved like enough money to, you know what, I think I'm gonna try to become an artist myself. That was a moment like almost 8-9 years ago when I turned 30. I was like, okay, I love it so much. I turned almost all my passions into my job. Let's try with this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember reading an interview about it where you talked about that change, you know, when you decided to go full time in the music and you haven't looked back since. Like it's been an amazing journey. And obviously you've been smashing it. So
thank you
it's good
so
you
much.
did.
I want to know when you decided to, you know, because punk rock and electronic music are really different. And how did you make that transition, like from playing in a band to starting to DJ? How that happened for you? What pushed you?
So I actually stopped playing the bass and being part of the band for some time. I was a kid, you know, I was maybe 12 or 13. And then between 13 and 17, 18, I wasn't part of music in that sense, you know. I was still listening to it, but I wasn't really involved in making music.
Something happened, or?
I don't know, I think I became a teenager and I just became, you know, kind of excited about other things, you know, like going out with friends and kind of just, in a way, now looking back, a bit wasting time, you know, like smoking pot and all those kind of things, you know, you lose a bit the focus. And I think I was trying to discover myself. And anyway, fast forward to when I was maybe 18, 19, I was at a friend's house in London, and he used to go a lot to like Fabric and Crucifix Lane. So he was really into the electronic music culture and the underground kind of stuff, you know. And he was always telling me about these clubs, and I just didn't really understand what he was saying. And then one day we were in his house, just listening to music on YouTube and stuff like that, and he was putting the songs. And then he played some songs from Hot Creations. And it was obviously at the time, it was kind of like the old deep house, you know, kind of melancholic with the voices, a bit punky, a bit like funk, you know. And when I started listening to it, I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. I could listen to the background. I was like, this really got me. It was like deep, emotional, like groovy. And I was like, I really feel really connected to this music. And I just remember like seeing the logo, the palm tree logo of Hot Creations in the screen. I'm like, okay, I'm going to check that out. And then when I went back home, I looked for the label, and that's when I started like going into the rabbit hole, you know, like Audio Jack, the old Jamie Jones, that kind of stuff. And that's when it just opened up the whole thing to me, and I just became obsessed with it. And then that's it. I wasn't really thinking about punk rock and all this kind of live band kind of stuff. That's when I went full electronic music, and then I started going out every single weekend, and you know, just being super exposed. And then within maybe 2 or 3 years, that's when I wasn't thinking about DJing. It was such an important thing for me. Like during the week, I was always thinking about going out. I was thinking, what party I'm gonna go? And I became very knowledgeable about artists, and I believe I have a good taste in music. So I was kind of choosing artists to go and see because of what I thought was really good. And I was always taking a lot of friends with me, and they trusted me, etc. And then after 2-3 years, some of my friends said to me, like, you should try DJing because you always like sending mixes. People follow you because when they want to go to a party, they know what you say is going to be good. And that's kind of how it started, you know, for me. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And then obviously I loved it. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Obviously you tour a lot.
I do.
So main question is, how did you maintain your mental health and your physical health in check?
Do I look mentally and physically healthy? Good.
You look fine to me.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm not sure about the inside, but on the outside you look fine.
You really have to be very intentional about it. Otherwise, you can really get lost in this world, you know, especially world of electronic music. There's always drugs and alcohol is involved. And I definitely don't use these substances. And like, I carry my little elastic bands so that I can work out wherever I am, even there's no gym. And yeah, I really care about what I eat. For me, sleep comes first. I rarely go to after parties, and if I'm going, I should be playing. Otherwise, I would rather go sleep. I'm in a bit of a, mood like this. Like I really, especially like I'm almost 40 now, and I really try to like work out, not drink, not take drugs, sleep enough, and yeah, just be mindful about my decisions. Otherwise, for me, it is not doable because the tiredness of touring, being always on planes, and like sometimes I open my eyes and I'm like, okay, for 5 seconds, I have to think where I am. I don't know. I'm like, I wake up, I'm like, okay, where I am today. And then it hits me. So when you are moving this much, there's an accumulated tiredness. So I really prioritize rest and my health. Like otherwise, it's very difficult. And sometimes I see people like getting like looking really old, or they don't have the right mindsets because the substances or lack of sleep is making you like really moody. So, you know, I'm really conscious about how I live. Like I'm also like, I think I am really doing this for the music and not for, okay, let's party, you know. For me, music is the main reason. So when that's the main reason, you can say no to some parties, and so yeah.
Yeah, I guess also it's about longevity, right? If you want to do this for a long time,
Oh yeah,
it's so important you're healthy
yeah.
and you.
It's a marathon, you know. Like
Yeah.
you sometimes have to say no to things.
Yeah. And do you have any rituals that you do before playing? For example, when you played in you go traveling somewhere and you arrive, and is there anything you do specific? Because I've heard some like artists that tour a lot and they travel a lot, they always have some sort of like ritual, either like in a dark room for like a few minutes, or they have to like do some sort of like yoga or something like that.
No, I don't have that. Maybe it will happen in time, but I just have a little bottle of really nice smell that it's kind of my ritual before shows, that I put it on me, and I like, because sometimes clubs are sweaty and there's bad smells, and something that really like, okay, I do it like here, I put it behind my ears and my chest, and it's my small like 20-second ritual that I
Nice.
do. But other than that, I don't have really, because it really depends. Sometimes you arrive at 9 p.m., sometimes you arrive at 9 a.m., sometimes you're tired, sometimes you're fresh, sometimes I have time to work out, sometimes I'm in a new city and I want to go explore. So every city or situation is different. But in clubs, before I start play, I have my little bottle with this nice smell, and I use that.
That's very cool. Never heard that one before.
So I heard you closed the main stage in Secret Garden Festival, and I heard amazing things about this festival. So how, like, was that for you like the best show, or like how was this experience for you?
It was definitely one of the biggest things I've done so far in my career, and especially that festival being such an amazing festival, being such a creative, gathering, and also having one of the main stages and basically closing. It was definitely a milestone for me, and I think it kind of showed me that my sound can work on bigger stages, and it obviously boosted my confidence playing for a bigger crowd and playing on like a big stage. So it was really helpful in that sense of making me like believe in myself more, and being up there in like a big sort of like lineup with so many names and so many things happening, and having a crowd in front of you. And I also played back to back with Karina Lawrence, who's also a good friend of mine, an amazing DJ. And it was really good because it kind of took the nerves a little bit away. It was a little bit stressful because you kind of share them with someone else. So even if you're both nervous, like you kind of like help each other, and like when you're setting up, like, is the sound working okay? The headphones, those kind of little things are like both working together towards it. So that was, it was amazing to be able to do that together and not just alone, that was actually really, really good.
Amazing.
Do you put much preparation into each gig in terms of like choosing the songs you're gonna play and the set list, or do you just let it happen organically?
No, not each show. I think like I have my days where I'm mostly listening to a lot of demos, and I download the demos and I make a folder for me with those like tracks to test. And I also started like finishing more music, and I have my own music. So I just put them in a USB basically. But if I'm playing like a specific show that is, I don't know, like a bit more different scenario, then like maybe it's not a club, maybe it's not a night show or maybe it's a special occasion, sometimes I prepare some playlists specifically for that. But usually I have like my playlist and I keep updating it every week, obviously, but it's just that. And I really think it's important that you go there with not a lot of things in your mind that, oh, I definitely want to play this, because I think it should be like a dialogue between the crowd and you cannot just tell them, okay, this is what I want to play for you. No, you have to start and then see how it goes and then get some feedback from people and change the course of the nights according to that. So no, I don't really prepare playlists for shows. I used to for like, we recorded a set here earlier and I used to do for those. But now even for those, I just like make a huge playlist and then I go from there. Even when there is no crowds, because I don't know, I like to, lean in more in my instincts about what to play next. I think that's the most exciting part about DJing. Okay, what am I gonna play next?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the most fun part. I think it becomes very boring, especially I think nowadays with technology, having DJs, there's not so much that you have to do anymore in that sense. It's not like playing vinyl where you constantly have to be checking everything. So I think being able to have fun through that is obviously great.
So you're working as you're part of the team here in Number 90, and I want to ask like what insight it gives you about the scene, or like are there any advantages about working also in the like behind the scenes, let's say, of the music scene? How do you find that it affects your career?
It's a massive benefit because I think as an artist, you can be in your bubble sometimes, and as an artist, obviously you have a journey and you're doing something with music and you're expressing yourself, and that's beautiful. But the reality is that you are part of an industry and there's a music business behind, and I think what it allows me is to understand more about the music business and how things actually are, in terms of money, the financials, promotion. So that's the main benefit, I would say, that working for a venue, I get to see the other side and I get to sort of like be involved in the conversations and understand like bookers, like people who work in the venue, what do they look for in artists, the kind of conversations and the kind of things you hear in the team. The artist was really nice, they were not really nice. It's all these things that people can judge an artist for, and I get to hear it, which is quite interesting, So I think that's the main thing, that I'm very music business minded and I'm very understanding and aware of how things really work, and I'm not just dreaming, about being an artist.
Is it more like an office job? Is it like a 9 to 5, or is it like a contrast to the artist life in a sense, or it's more like chill?
It's relatively chilled, also because I love the industry and I love the music side of things, and I purposely decided to also work in the industry. I wouldn't want to have an office job outside the music industry. That's very important for me. But it's an office-based job, but it's in a venue, and it's in a very cool venue, very fun venue. The team is amazing.
I love the venue.
So I'm not just in a laptop sitting down the whole time, I'm doing things around, I'm talking to people, and sometimes there's parties and stuff like that. And it's pretty flexible. It's not like a fixed schedule that I have to be here. As long as I can show I'm delivering, I'm doing my work, then no one says anything, Everyone trusts each other here, which is great. So it doesn't really feel like an office job at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If you could give advice to your younger self,
Oh,
I really wanted to ask this one. What would it be in terms of, getting into music and becoming a DJ and a producer?
like I give advice to young people all the time, but I never thought of giving advice to my young self. I mean, I started a bit late. I usually think maybe it would be nicer if I started earlier. But like I said, I never really saw myself as an artist. And it was a process for me that like to say, okay, I'm an artist. It was like a big deal for me. So I think everything happens on the right time. But if I could maybe go back to like 10, 15, 20 years, I would probably learn the basics of music theory, because I had to learn it after. I'm still learning, and I would probably tell myself, like, learn this. This is the key to the universe. You know the notes, you can understand the universe better. So probably that will be the advice. But other than that, I give advice to young people all the time. I don't want to go into there, like, advice about the scene, whatever. That's easy. But to myself, I would probably like start early with, I don't know, maybe play the piano, something like this. Now I'm learning, like teaching myself to play the ukulele, but I'm not reading notes still. And I think I would need a bit of a younger, like neuroplastically more flexible brain to learn that. So I'm not getting into that, but I would probably learn music theory.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's understandable. I have heard, I think, people who have they're very advanced in music theory. They play the piano for a long time, and then they move into like electronic music. Sometimes that can be quite limiting. Yeah, it's quite limiting because they have all these rules and they have to stick to. And electronic music is kind of a bit like crazy, you know, just do different stuff.
You need simple, actually. Also, like maybe you can like do some nice chord progressions and melodies in a break, but if you have it too much in an electronic, like, because electronic music is repetitive. So maybe knowing too much is also a bit limiting. I've heard that from people. Yeah. The question I really want to ask you, because I think it's a very good question. If you could change one thing about the London club scene right now, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think a lot of people think about this, and I would say the longer sets. You know, just longer sets in general. We have some of that, you know. I think there's a few residencies in London, but there's not enough. I think in general, most events, there's still an hour and a half sets, you know. So I think the longer form sets is something that I would like to see more in London specifically. I think it's a true way of an artist really showcasing who they are and what they do and expressing themselves fully, you know, because it takes time when you start playing somewhere to get started, you know, to warm up. And then you actually can start saying something. And then I, for example, find myself, I don't obviously get many opportunities to play longer sets, but, you know, I'm thinking when I'm on the spot, I'm like, I'm not going to go there because I'm going to go half an hour. I need to go this way now. So it's like, I can see how a longer set time allows you to then plan things and take things a bit slower and using bridges and things to go from one place to another one, but you need the time to be able to do that. So yeah, that's something I would love to see more. What about you?
I mean, I love playing in London, and there is a venue that I play, Fabric, and the sets are comparatively like relatively longer than some festivals and clubs. Like sometimes you do play 1 hour and it sucks.
Yeah.
Like I did play an hour set now, and it's very difficult. It's like showing you a little appetizer.
Yeah.
But there are venues where I can play 3 hours, 5 hours, and I really like those because you don't have to just play bangers in that, you know, short amount of time, which I don't like, which I think also social media is really forcing people to do more and more. And I love building journeys. So I think what you said really resonated with me as well. Like, I think it's all about ticket sales, I think. Like, they want to put more names in a lineup. So, you know, they bring some friends, but like, if you really give a DJ like longer than 2 hours, then they can create journeys, and that's a great answer. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see obviously the paywall. I can see why promoters kind of feel they have to do that, you know. And obviously we could get into another rabbit hole about, you know, booking artists of how many tickets they sell as opposed to what they do artistically. But it's understandable. But I think it comes down to people also being educated enough, you know, and the crowd and the audience being choosing this instead of choosing. I get more value for my money when I see 10 artists as opposed to 3. You know, it's also that aspect. You know, I can see people like, I would prefer to go to a festival, go to this place because, like, you know, I pay 30, 40 pounds, whatever, and I see so many of my favorite artists, but you only see about half an hour, 1 hour of them. So yeah, that's just another topic, I guess.
Yeah, nice. Well, thank you so much. Really nice getting to know you and your answers. I love it. Thank you, guys.
You too. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us.
That was Creative Cycle, where two artists swap questions before stepping into the night. Huge thanks to ELIF and Innerstice for opening up their processes and stories. The conversation ends here, but their stories stay with us. And until the next episode, keep the cycle moving.